entrepreneurial drive that gets people up in the morning. Of course, they want to back their ideas. They want to go and buy businesses. They want to grow their ideas and see them come to fruition. So the point is what needs to be done to give them more incentive so we have more successful small businesses that become medium-sized and even large businesses that become bigger employers, bigger taxpayers, and therefore bigger generators of wealth in our community. Well, this has occupied the minds of the Institute of Public Accountants, one of the biggest and foremost accounting bodies in this country. Its Chief Executive Officer is Andrew Conway, and this white paper that they've put together, I think, is an absolute key. Many thanks for your time, Andrew.
Thanks, Ross. Good to be with you.
So, okay, let's start it off. What are the barriers right now? What are the impediments you've identified that, if sorted out, could actually help drive more small business through our economy?
Well, the first thing, Ross, as you've said in your intro, is that government is not the answer. Unfortunately, at the moment, there are a lot of the problem, but government is not the answer in this situation. We've said in our white paper, one of the big things we're advocating for is getting government out of the way of small business. But if we want small business owners around this country, and many of them are listening to your program right now, who will be, preparing their kids for the week ahead and taking the kids out and looking about providing their children and families with a great lifestyle, that's what small business is about. It's about the people of Australia providing for their own future. As you said, putting their lives and their livelihoods on the line. Part of our white paper, we went around the country, we spoke to small businesses directly. They said, look, we're honest people, we're real people. We just wouldn't mind a few get-out-of-jail-free cards from the government that if we make an honest mistake, we're not going to get wrapped over the knuckles for that. So,
all right, give me one example of that then. Where is it where a business person can make an honest mistake, a reasonable mistake, but ultimately almost destroys their life as a result of that?
Well, good example is tax. So the ATO got a big job to do in terms of making sure people are paying their fair share of tax. That's another discussion altogether in terms of big business. In terms of small business, there can be honest mistakes made in terms of the tax, as simple as that. And the ATO got the power to go into a business and really investigate and pull that money, that business if they want to. We've actually advocated in the white paper to extend the safe harbour provisions that the ATO has available to them to make sure that small businesses are availing themselves of those safe harbour provisions so that if they make an honest mistake, they can actually be given time to either trade out of that or receive the assistance required to make sure they can get out of the pickle.
Okay, pretty simple one here as well, and this is no rocket science. If you set up a small business and it's successful, for the first 7 years, you don't pay tax at all. There's no tax, no company tax whatsoever for the first 7 years of that new enterprise. But the fact is, once it's up and going, you can't then effectively try and shoehorn it into a new business to make it look as though you've set up a new operation. It's things that are actually very lowly capitalised, small businesses. And the reason for that is because if you consider that a person who sets up a business that is successful ends up being taxed capital gains tax-wise if they sell from $1, that does not seem fair to me.
No, you did right, Ross. The other one we've looked at is looking around, as part of the white paper, looking around the world to see what works in other jurisdictions. One of the things that works pretty well across in the US is using a taxation structure that is akin to a corporation. So the ability of a small business to be structured like a company, receiving the benefits of a corporate structure without all the regulation that comes with it. So in the US, it's used very effectively to assist small business, particularly startups, to get off the ground and get themselves moving. And to benefit from a lower rate of tax. So they'd be paying a lower rate of tax by way of the company tax rate if they make the profit rather than a marginal tax rate at the income levels.
Okay, my experience is that many companies in Australia end up failing because they cannot get access to capital. They effectively starve the entrepreneurs who have created them of all of their funds, their house, the whole lot, and still ultimately the business fails, not because necessarily it's a bad idea, but because it hadn't had enough cash or time to make it succeed. Is this something that can be easily overcome?
Spot on, Ross. I think part of our data and analysis looked at 28,000 small businesses today in Australia cite access to finance is the biggest inhibitor to their growth. Now, for other small businesses, there'll be access to finance issues and access to capital. But for 28,000, it's the biggest issue at the moment. Now, the data then goes to another several hundreds of thousands who say, well, access to finance is a problem. We've actually said there's a couple of things that can be done. One is the government considering a loan guarantee scheme, a state-backed loan guarantee scheme. They exist in 46 other developed nations across the world, where you actually, the government takes a slice of the risk of the loan, up to say 65% of the risk. They can secure that, but also receive an interest rate premium, say 2, 3, 3.5% above the bank rate, and therefore the government takes reduces the risk profile of the bank, and therefore enables a greater free flowing of capital from the bank. So you're lowering the risk profile and therefore making lending a little bit easier for the banks. So that's one aspect of state-backed loan guarantees, Ken. But we've also said it's really time for us to get some more detail around the alternative sources to finance, whether it's VC. Let's try and promote venture capital and pool the venture capital funds in Australia together with the state-provided, the government-provided venture capital streams, and look at ways of releasing capital that way. And then also look at those peer-to-peer lending, crowdsourced equity finance as well, which is really starting to pick up. So we've got to get some rigor around that to make sure that there's not this sort of shark mentality going on between those people who might be providing crowdsourced equity finance and those small businesses seeking that. But let's just realise that this is a new world we live in. There are new sources of capital. Let's make sure it's being done in a planned way rather than in an ad hoc way.
I'll tell you what, there's plenty of other impediments that are out there as well, including employment laws, which really make it very prohibitive and difficult for many businesses to try hire workers on a flexible basis, but other things, including export and a range of different things that are included in this white paper that has come from the Institute of Public Accountants and its Chief Executive, Andrew Conway. Great to have you on the program today.
Thanks, Ross. Good on you.